Dan Donovan is the Staten Island District Attorney, and he is also the Republican designee for Attorney General. Dan Donovan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me again, Liz.
Well, this morning, actually, we saw the 5 Attorney General candidates not duking it out per se, but having a forum. And one of the things that has been coming up a lot, also in the Times this morning, is the Rockefeller drug law reform issue, which has become a litmus test for liberals, really. You are a Republican, also the conservative designee, but you were the head of the DA's Association at that time, and you had some very strongly worded opposition to the reforms that the legislature eventually passed.
The 2009 reforms, yes, you're right, Liz. The Rockefeller drug laws didn't exist in 2009. They were reformed in 2004, and those reforms were very effective, and they were working. When I was the president of the State DA's Association, our association came out against any further reforms, because the reforms of 2004 was so successful, we saw no need for further reform.
Well, actually what they did was do away with the life sentences for Class A, or the highest level drug offenses, if I remember this correctly, right?
In 2004 they did all that.
And then then they wanted to move on to Bs, which is the lower level.
That's correct.
And that's where the bulk of the drug offenders actually are.
That's correct.
But the real crux of this issue when it comes to the Attorney General's race is judicial discretion, returning some kind of sentencing discretion to judges. Where do you stand on that particular point?
Yeah, our position back then is true today, because I am still a sitting district attorney, is that we were in a good position to recommend people for treatment. I spoke with the special narcotics prosecutor for the city of New York just today, and she told me that less people went into treatment this year since the new reforms of 2009 than had gone into treatment the previous year in 2008. The 2008 was the first time in our history, Liz, that more people went into treatment for drug offenses than went to jail. It was working. I saw no reason for further reform, and neither did the DA's Association.
And at the time, the DA's Association sitting on the board was Kathleen Rice. Did she ever explain to you or express to you that she was not on board with the opposition that the association was expressing in Albany?
Yeah, back then, I mean, there's 62 sitting district attorneys. Very difficult, because they're all very busy people. Very difficult to speak to each individual district attorney. So what we would do during my presidency is say, this is the position that the District Attorneys Association is proposing. We send it out, blast it to 62 DAs, and say that if we don't hear of any of your opposition, this is what we intend to send out as the District Attorneys Association. I said, people could speak individually how they feel, but as the association, this is what we're going to send out if we don't hear of your objections.
So when she says now that she's always been in favor of Rockefeller drug law reform, do you think that that is a true statement?
I don't know. I never spoke to Kathleen about her position on the reforms of 2009. I expressed my opinion, but as the DA's Association, it's very difficult with 62 people who are very busy to speak to every individual person. So I've never spoken to Kathleen about her personal opinions about the reforms of 2004 or the reforms of 2009.
But she never expressed any opposition to sending out the statement, to putting her name to the statements on the letterhead, that is, of the association.
To my recollection, we didn't receive any opposition from any of the 62 DAs.
This whole issue, do you expect that this will be even an issue in the general election?
I don't think so. I think that the public integrity, the dysfunction in our government, the disgust that the people of New York State have with their elected officials, their lack of faith, they don't believe elected officials any longer, that's going to be the crux. The Rockefeller drug laws are gone. The reforms of 2004 were reformed again in 2009. That's the law right now. So I don't think it's going to become an issue at all in a general election.
So regardless of whether, and I know you and I have had a discussion about this in the past, but regardless of whether you personally believe or advocated against the reforms, if ever a case came before you, you would uphold whatever the law was and you wouldn't recuse yourself from that case?
We do it right now as a sitting district attorney. The laws of our drug laws right now are the laws that we enforce in Richmond County, and I suspect my 61 colleagues enforce them in their counties. And so that we're following the law as it is since the reforms of 2009. Whether those reforms are successful, we've had 14 months now to measure that. I was told that less people went into treatment. I was told that people are going into treatment now for marijuana addictions, which we never send people for marijuana addictions. I was told that service providers who provide treatment have empty beds. There was times back in 2008 and before where we had to wait for a bed for somebody.
Do you even believe people can be addicted to marijuana, or do you think that's false?
I'll have to wait for the scientists in the medical field to figure that out. But we never sent anybody. Nobody was ever claiming they were addicted to marijuana during the previous years before the 2009 reforms. We sent people for cocaine addiction, for heroin addiction, for prescription pills addiction. Just speaking to the Special Narcotics Prosecutor just today about her opinions on the success or not, this is some of the information I've been told by her. And she gathers information not only for New York City, but throughout the state.
Another issue that's come up in the Democratic primary is the question of independence. Now, Attorney General Andrew Cuomo, the current Attorney General running for governor, has not yet picked a favorite among these five. He may not. Assuming that he does, is that something that you think he would make an issue of, that the person who might end up being governor had then endorsed someone, and that person could perhaps not be effective in being suitably independent from the sitting governor?
Yeah, I think it takes away from somebody's independence. I've read reportings that even Democrats don't want a hand-picked attorney general by the governor. It's my belief, I'm a Republican, it's my belief that even though there are 3 million more registered Democrats than Republicans, that people are going to look at the attorney general's position as a nonpartisan position. They don't look at it as a Democrat or Republican. The only thing that I think they're going to look at is we need some checks and balances in our government. For the last few years, we've had people of one party ruling our government in Albany, and we see the dysfunction that's happening because of that. And I think that Democrats are going to look at my administration, my candidacy, and say, he's somebody we could trust, he's somebody that's honest, he's somebody that's nonpartisan, and he's somebody we could vote for even though we're not registered to the same party as he is.
So do you think Andrew Cuomo should stay out of the primary and the race entirely, that he shouldn't pick a candidate?
No, that's his prerogative if he wants to do that or not. But I'm just saying that I think I've read reports where people have said they don't want a hand-picked attorney general candidate that's handpicked by the governor's office. I think the checks and balances is something that we're missing in our government, our state government right now. Our forefathers were smart enough to make 3 branches of government so they could check and balance one another. We don't have that in Albany now, and I think people in our state need to have that, and they want that.
Because Eliot Spitzer, the former governor, who was also the former attorney general, endorsed Andrew Cuomo, and then they had sort of some political tension between the two of them. Mm-hmm. Do you, and I know that this has been asked in many cases, do you have any interest in running for governor?
I have no interest in running for governor. I have no ambitions to become governor. I have an ambition to become an attorney general of the state of New York, help solve the problems that we're facing in Albany now, and that's the extent of my ambition.
One of the things that we have not yet seen from you is a finance report. You got into this late. Some of these folks on the Democratic side have been running for a year or more already. You had a fundraiser the other day with Mayor Bloomberg. He hosted it for you. He has provided a lot of support to your campaign. A lot of people who are worked for him now working for you. There were reports that upwards of $150,000 was raised in that single night. Is that true?
It may be. My finance people kept track of the amount of money that we raised. It was a very successful event. Mayor Bloomberg has been a good friend of mine for a number of years. Before he was mayor, I met Mike Bloomberg. So I cherish his support, but I think he supports me, Liz, not just because I'm his friend. He has a lot of friends that he hasn't supported as strongly as he supported my candidacy. I think he sees me as an independent leader, as he is. I'm not beholden to any constituency, any political group, any unions, and I think he believes in my ability to govern this state, and I think that's why I've garnered the amount of support from Mayor Bloomberg that I've been able to have.
If you end up being, say, the lone Republican in this sea of Democrats of statewide, you'll be sort of the island in the middle of blue, right? How can you assure people that you won't use the office for partisan purposes? Because won't you open yourself up to arguments that anything you do, the Democrats will say, well, of course he's doing that. He's investigating that because he's a Republican. He hates Democrats. We're all in control.
And I'll convince the people in New York State I'm investigating something because there's something wrong. You'll always have those arguments. Most of those arguments come from people who have something to hide. I've run my office. I have a proven record. If you ask people on Staten Island now, is Dan Donovan, the district attorney, is he a Republican or a Democrat? Most of the people wouldn't even know.
Oh, are you sure about that?
Yeah, I think so. We've run our office in a nonpartisan. When I took office, I never asked anyone what their party affiliation was. When we prosecute people, we don't ask them what their voter registration is. We just follow wherever the facts lead us and do what we believe is right under the oath of responsibility that I took as DA, and that's the way I'll conduct our business at the Attorney General's office. So I think there will be people who will allege that I'm taking some action because of some political allegiance that I have to one party or some conflict I have with another political